The current forecast that was just issued at 3:15 this afternoon from Mid-Atlantic River Forecast Center shows that we're going to be about 18.1 feet. So about just over a foot over flood stage. Obviously, we've been monitoring it for the last couple of days. We were supposed to be at 16, now it's up to 18. I will say we have some great news. It was projected to be about 18.6. That number has since receded back to 18.1, so that's a good thing. We're not seeing the amount of water, rainfall throughout the Susquehanna River Valley that was anticipated. So that drop in precipitation has helped us. We're hopeful that that number will continue to drop, but Harrisburg Fire and our emergency management teams are diligently working. We're looking at plans all day. We're going to be going out to Shipoke and some other neighborhoods in the city that start to be affected at that 17 to 18 foot flood stage. Earlier today when we were over, we had quite a few steps showing. So each step we come up, it's another foot in river rise, and we won't be able to see the sidewalk. A good portion of the bank is going to be inundated with water here in the next 2 days. Understand that crest is expected to occur on Thursday. So this is kind of like the calm before the storm, until we get to that Thursday where we're thinking 6 o'clock at night is going to be that crest. And then we should see a gradual, steady decline from there forward. So most people that live in a flood-prone neighborhood know you're in a flood-prone neighborhood. So I would recommend right now that you're starting to put your emergency plans in place. Making sure that you're getting your basements cleaned out. Anything that you don't want to lose in a flood, make sure you have that up to at least your first floor if your basement floods, maybe the second floor if you need to. Start getting those contingency plans in place. If you need to rent a truck to get things out, maybe make that phone call and say, hey, I might need to rent a truck from you. Do you have one available, from your local truck rental place if you need to get all your things away? And understand, it's going to take us some time. Once we determine how much water we received and what the cleanup's going to be, it's not going to be a back-in overnight thing. We're going to have to come back and clean streets and things like that. It's a long, arduous process that we have to go through once the floodwaters hit and start to recede. Dauphin County and the region has been inundated. Last night, today, and I'm sure if we get some more rain here tonight, going to be inundated again with calls for service. And a lot of times these calls for service are unwarranted, unneeded, because somebody drove through a barrier, somebody drove into standing water, somebody drove into that water where the creek has come over the bridge. That is so extremely dangerous, not only for the person, but you got to put yourself in the shoes of the first responder. We now have to put our first responders in harm's way to go out and save people that didn't obey what the rules are. Don't drive through the standing water. And another thing, when we're looking at creeks and streams, it's great to look at them. The volumes of water going down through is pretty tremendous to look at. But one of the things you got to remember is that's all being undermined and undertowed on the sides of those banks. If you get too close, there's nothing saying that you actually have ground underneath of you. You could quickly slide in and be swept away in the floodwaters. Good point is those in flood-prone areas ought to be, doing those preemptive things right now. If you need some help with that, readypa.gov has some great checklists to go through for flooding events. If you don't live in a flood-prone area, and you might know somebody that does, make sure you're checking on them, see if they need anything. At this point in time, being all hands on deck to help move things around. And again, we can't emphasize enough, not driving through that standing water. Look, it's great coming downtown here, to see what the water looks like, but it creates a traffic nightmare, and you put yourself and others at risk by doing so. The best place to look for water information is the current hydrograph that's produced by the Mid-Atlantic River Forecast Center. And when you're reading that graph, you have to understand that is a forecast on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side is what the actual number is. So it's very important to read that map and understand what that hydrograph is actually saying. The blue line is the current and what has been observed, and then the dotted line to the right is actually what is forecast over the next several days. And you'll see those in 18Z numbers at the bottom of the page. That's the way National Weather does their graphing. And it goes out through Friday of this week.